Hi, welcome to Rittners Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner, and it's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. We have a neat demonstration planned for you. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. It's the fall of the year, and one of the fall holidays that occurs around this time is Rosh Hashanah, or the Jewish New Year. Now, one of the things that we enjoy at Rittners Floral School is the application of floral art to a huge variety of different holidays, events, and life cycles. And so what we thought we would do in this brief video is give you a demonstration on how to make a very, very neat design that could be used for Rosh Hashanah. It could be used for other times during the year as well, but we're going to particularly gear it towards this holiday. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. We start, of course, with our container, and you'll notice that we have a very, very classical kind of shape, kind of an urn type container. And we're going to start right from the get-go creating the shape of this design. And one product that I'm going to use to begin with is bittersweet. Bittersweet is a neat kind of material. It looks very, very natural. Berried type materials have become very, very popular in our floral art over the last few years. People love them. They're showy. They kind of give a different kind of texture to our design. This material is not universally available. We've gotten it through Blooming of Beloit, Wisconsin. However, if it's not available in your area, there are a whole range of berries, hypericum berries, viburnum berries, a huge range of different things that you can get that you could use in a similar manner. And notice that by placing a few pieces of this here, we're kind of setting the stage of this design. It's going to be a fairly good-sized arrangement. It's going to be a one-sided design, meaning that this will work well on a mantelpiece or possibly in an entry area or maybe in a bay window. We're going to mix our materials together. This is amazing. This is called stock. I love this particular flower. It's a very neat flower. Of course, my students will tell you that there's not a flower out there that I don't like. I like just about every botanical that happens to be available to us. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of my stock or Matthiola to kind of give a sense of the shape of this design. This design is going to be a little bit more on the classical side. In other words, we're going to keep it in terms of classic beauty, but we are going to have an interesting aspect as we do it. Notice that I'm using my stock up here, over here, and from the general scheme of things, you can see that this is definitely a linear type design. It is something that we would call line design, or high style design. I'm going to take a little bit more of my stock and work it in. I love this material because it's very, very natural looking. It gives a very, very cool effect, and it really looks quite nice, and it'll work very, very well with other kinds of things as well. So I'm taking a little bit of my stock, placing it here and there. We are going to mix different materials together, and one of my favorite flowers, particularly at this time of the year, as well as the summer, in fact, it's one of my favorite flowers throughout the year, is the sunflower. Sunflowers rock. They are so cool. They are big, they are cheerful. Even when you get the mini and medium varieties, they look great, and they fill space very, very effectively. And so I'm going to use a few of my sunflowers in this design to continue to add to the composition. I'm taking them, I'm working them in, and I'm leaving a little bit of space here and there in between them. I'm not jamming them all together, but I think you can see, my viewer, how this really gives a very, very cool effect in terms of my designing. And I'm just working some up towards the top, and I'm going to gradually work another one maybe over here as well. So I'm really having some fun with my materials. And notice how this contrasts so well with my stock and also with my berried materials. By playing with something that is circular, by playing with something that's more linear, by mixing berries in with it, it gives a really fantastical kind of combination of materials that we can play with. Now, I also want to play with some of my form type materials and a rose. Roses you never can go wrong with. Roses are an amazing flower. They're universally beloved, and we want to definitely play with some roses in our design. And so I'm going to add some of my roses here and there. I'm going to work a line of my roses coming through towards the center part of my design. And I'm taking them, cutting them down. Almost seems like a shame to be cutting roses down because they are so beautiful and they have such nice long stems to play with, but I am going to use a few here and there, just gradually working a curve of them in through the arrangement. Let's see, we've got some sunflowers here and here. Let's stick one over onto the other side as well. I'm going to work one over here. In other words, we want it to kind of feel very, very kind of natural and pretty. At this time of the year, we have other materials to play with. We have, for example, cremones, which are amazing. They hold up very, very well. I'm going to sneak one of these into the background here. Let's do it so that you guys can see it, because there we go. It's just going to kind of peek through. And then what else do we have? What else do we have? Oh, well, we've got some of our gerbras. Gerbras are a very, very neat flower. A very, very neat flower. They come in just about every color under the sun. I love this one. It's kind of an orange with a little yellow fringe to it. Really very pretty. They come in the large size. They also come in mini varieties. Let's work a few of our gerbera into our arrangement. And so I'm going to work one right here. I'm going to work one over here. I'm just having a lot of fun mixing my different materials together. And you'll notice, my viewer, that as we're doing this, the design is gradually filling out. Now, this is classical in the sense that it is definitely something that you can see the classical triangular shape taking place. Yet at the same token, even though it is kind of a classical expression, I am leaving space. In other words, we're definitely leaving some space in between. We're making use not only of positive space filled by the floral product, but negative space in between. And very little use of foliage on this, and we're doing that on purpose. I want to cover mechanics, however, and what I'm going to do to cover my mechanics on this design, I could use some foliage, but again, we're doing it kind of classical, but not, if you know what I mean. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of another product that is available around this time of the year that is really, really cool. This is hydrangea, and it is the antique green hydrangea that has a little bit of pink mixed in with it. And what I'm doing is I'm going to take some of this, and I'm literally using it almost as a cover and as a fill. The advantage of the antique green hydrangea is that, unlike some of the other varieties, it does tend to dry fairly well. And this is available through the folks of Blooming of Beloit, Wisconsin. It is a very pretty product. Notice how that's filling the area so nicely for me. Now, at this point, you may be saying to yourself, this is very, very pretty, but you kind of left a hole here. And yes, I did. And the reason I've left a hole there is because we want to make use of a product that has become associated with Rosh Hashanah, and that is the pomegranate. The pomegranate. Pomegranates are one of several fruits that have become associated with the holiday. One fruit that's associated with the holiday, of course, is apples. People take apples and they sweeten it with honey to wish each other a happy new year and a sweet new year. And certainly we see a lot of that used at this time. However, the pomegranate, believe it or not, has quite a history also in terms of being associated with the Rosh Hashanah holiday. Some people say that it's because there are 613 seeds inside, representing 613 mitzvot in the Torah. Others point to the fact that it is mentioned on several, actually numerous occasions in the Bible, but it is one of these materials that has become associated with Rosh Hashanah. And so we thought that to make this design very, very Rosh Hashanah, we're going to incorporate it into. We've added a few picks into our pomegranate, several picks, so that we can actually get it in here. And we're going to work it in this capacity. In other words, we can take it, work it in once we put a pick onto it. This is obviously not for eating. This is for ornamental use only. And I'm taking 2 or 3 of my pomegranates and I'm working it in, which also leads to the possibility that we could do the same kind of thing using apples or using other materials if we wanted to. Apples would work just as well, but I thought pomegranates would work nice. We can also leave 1 or 2 kind of at the base of this design if we wanted to, just to kind of give a kind of cool effect on it. And I still have a little bit more space in my design I'd like to fill before I finish it off, and I want to use a product that I think is kind of neat. It is a product, again, available during the fall season. This is called safflower. Safflower, it's really cool. It's got these kind of bushy things of bright orange. Kind of reminds me of my hair when I used to have hair. But it's really, really cool. And of course, I didn't have orange. But I'm going to take some of this and we're going to work some of this in as well. So that by taking a few pieces of my safflower, I can work it here and there and create another kind of counterpoint to the other materials that we have. So the overall result of our design is classical in the sense that we're working with a classical kind of shape, the triangle. But notice that we're not using foliage. We're keeping it a little bit non-traditional in that way. We're making use of positive and negative space and the fact that we do have spaces showing on this, yet there is plenty of positive space in terms of the way we're filling it. And we're using essentially our hydrangea as a means of filling the design. And then, of course, the use of the pomegranates for the novelty effect for the holiday. What do you think, my viewer? Pretty, isn't it? Now, obviously, if I were doing this for actual use, I would put some hydrangea or some foliage or moss on the backside to make sure my mechanics are covered. But I think you can get the idea on it. It gives a really, really pretty effect. And so we're finishing off our design for the Jewish holiday. Well, my viewer, we covered a lot in a short period of time. Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, at this time of the year, this would be an arrangement that would be appropriate for mantel, for entry area, for your bay window. I think that it's really showy, it's pretty. And get out those pomegranates, play with some of your flowers, bring out your containers, and you too can come up with some very, very pretty designs that will grace your home at this time of the year. On behalf of all of us here at Rittners Floral School, I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. We thank you for coming in and visiting our school today.